Oh boy. Hey guys, Script Trooper here with another video, and I want to say it's good news, but it's not good news, as the apology tour continues for the Acolyte and Leslye Headland. And now we're talking about why she views the Sith villain as an avatar for herself. Okay. There's an awful lot of Leslye Headland in this show. I don't know if you're new to this channel or if you've seen any of my videos before, but the last few videos I've been doing covering her comments on the show post finale, and even before that, there's so much Leslye Headland in this show. I don't know what the thought process was behind that. Maybe you guys can figure it out in the comments. Why you would allow somebody to make a Star Wars show that is so emphatically about them and what they think, and not so much about the IP itself and Star Wars and the lore of Star Wars and everything else. In my previous video, she's talked about it in terms of her writing had to do with her and her sister and her relationship with her father, and how it's all just about Leslye. It's all me. Instead of, hey, look at this awesome Star Wars story we did. It's, hey, look at me and how I'm a big part of this show, and me. Whatever the reason is, you don't make a Star Wars show about you. You make it about Star Wars and the lore, and you make it for the fans. You don't make it for you. But that seems to be what she's done at the behest of Kathleen Kennedy, who openly said she needed to make a show about herself. She said, oh, Leslye, you make a show about you. Why would you do that? And why would Leslye Headland want to do that? Like, oh man, I have this opportunity to make a Star Wars show. I'm a huge fan of Star Wars. Awesome. Woo. No, I'm a fan of me. And I go back to the Lego study. I've referenced this several times in my videos over the years. The Lego study where they were trying to figure out a way to make Lego sets for girls because it was quite male-dominated, right? Because they had all the comic book characters and all that stuff, and they were a male-dominated genre as well. Still are, despite the best efforts of certain people. And they realized that when the boys picked up the Batman guy, the Batman Lego set or whatever, they pretended to be Batman. They were like, I'm Batman. And then they did everything Batman does, but they were the ones doing it because they want to be like Batman. The girls picked up the Batman and turned the Batman into them. So they started putting dresses on Batman. They took Batman to the horse training set and put him on a horse and made him pick flowers and made him go to the mall and do all the things that they liked to do. And so I'm not saying any of that to say that a woman couldn't be a good director of a Star Wars movie. I'm not saying that at all. I think certain women certainly could. I think Bryce Dallas Howard would probably do a pretty good job. And she has some experience as well. It's not that a woman can't do it. It's that I don't think as many women could do it. I think the percentage is smaller. And it's just the way that they think. So going back to the Lego study, this seems like Leslye took Star Wars and made Star Wars do what she would want it to do. Just like the girls took the Batman and made him do what they would want to do, rather than her taking Star Wars and being like, oh my gosh, I want to make the most amazing Star Wars because I love it type mentality. She does claim to love it, and she probably does, but she's doing the Lego study. She's inserting herself into everything about it instead of making it about Star Wars. It's becoming more about Leslye Headland. And that's not a good look. And it's even worse when she's doing these interviews like we're going to read now, where she's bragging about that, where she's expounding upon how much it's just about her. In my last video, I couldn't believe the things that she was saying. You should check that out. It's mind-boggling that this show was ever made. So Leslye Headland, the showrunner for The Acolyte, recently explained why she sees Manny Jacinto's Sith villain as an avatar for herself. Why don't you just write a villain that's a villain? Why do you have to insert yourself into everything, right? Why do you have to put a dress on Batman, Leslye? In an interview with Collider's Maggie Lovett, following the show's sixth episode, Headland revealed that she sees Jacinto's Sith villain as an avatar of herself. Everything's about me. Headland was asked by Lovett, aside from the obvious allusions to the other ships, are there any other enemies to lovers dynamics that informed the decisions you were making as you were playing with these two characters? She said, there are so many, but I'm going to say no because I was really working from muscle memory. I didn't want to quote something else. I wanted to just click into the kind of stuff that I wrote when I was in high school. And this is going back to my previous video. It's literally a high school mentality show. And it actually is, if you think about it. I love these characters. Nobody wants to ship these characters more than I do. I love them so much. I love the Stranger. There's always a character that's an avatar for me that I really, really love. In Russian Doll, it was Charlie Barnett's character, Alan. And then she goes on to say, the Stranger is obviously a badass, but I just mean much more than his character. I'm not going around doing fantastic lightsaber battles and murdering people and being an all-around badass, but I would say that what he talks about in this episode and what he talked about in episode 5, something I really dug down. She continued. Then Osha's inner conflict fits with his ideology, and yet they're on opposite ends of the spectrum, just like she and her sister started at the beginning of the show. I wanted to stay true to my characters. I tried my best to just stick to the tropes and the stuff that I loved, and tried not to think about, especially with the classics. I think it would have been a little too quotes around it if that were the case. I don't see how Osha fits in with the Stranger at all. In fact, her turn to supporting him was out of nowhere. You know, I remember in episode 2, Osha sees Yord, right? After she's arrested and they suspect she's this person that's killing Jedi. She sees Yord and she goes, hey, Yord, oh my gosh, I haven't seen you in so long. So her and Yord were close friends when she was training to be a Jedi. They make that abundantly clear. The Stranger murdered Yord, or just tried to murder him right in front of her. Right? And then she distracted him with the stun gun thing. Right? Later in the episode, I don't know whether it was the 5th or 6th episode, he kills Yord. He breaks his neck. She also had a relationship with Jecki, who he also murders. And then, a day later, all of a sudden she's like, yeah, I'm going to join this guy. Because he gives her a few, token bad guy lines and stands there naked in front of her. And so she just turned because of that after all that had happened. And then, because she hears Soul killed her mother, that all the other murders this guy didn't matter. And then she goes full-blown dark side. Like the idea that there's some sort of connection between Osha and the Stranger is totally manufactured. It didn't feel natural at all. It happened way too quickly. And Osha just sort of completely turned her back on her entire belief system on a dime. And so, no, I disagree with you, Leslye. It was very poorly done. Headland had previously revealed to New York Times how she was inserting her own family drama into the show, telling the outlet, I have a very strained relationship with my youngest sister. I feel like one of the reasons is strained is we both see the other as the bad guy. And if I was going to tell a story about bad guys, it seemed to me that the place to start would be a familial relationship where one person is adamantly convinced of her correctness and the other person is also adamantly convinced of her correctness. We don't speak. I think this will be a surprise to her, yada, yada, yada. Because, again, the whole show is about Leslye Headland's personal life. It's an allegory for her personal life. How was this ever made? Okay, now, in an interview with Collider following the conclusion of the first season, Headland provided more details as to why she sees Manny Jacinto's Sith villain as an avatar for herself. She said, when you asked about why I relate with the character so much, when he reveals himself and makes his statement of purpose, I had to rewrite that scene many times because the villain outlining his plan is so ridiculous. Really, the ultimate version of that is Heath Ledger's Joker. You're never going to hit that, but that's the goal. And his purpose was, I didn't want to be a Jedi. I want to use the Force the way I want to use it. Well, then go and do that, bro. No one cares. But that isn't what he's doing. He wants to be able to he wants to justify killing people. It's a vast galaxy. If he just didn't want to have to follow what the Jedi rules were, which I guess the rule of not murdering was a big problem for him, he could have went off on his own onto some planet somewhere and used the Force as he saw fit. The problem is he wants to use the Force to break the law and to murder people. Is that what you relate to, Leslye? Is that the big thing? Like, it's the same with the Joker. The Joker didn't want to follow the rules. What rules did he not want to follow? None of them. He wanted to murder, steal, cheat, loot, kill, and whatever it is. You take your pick of crimes. Why would anybody relate to that? And I remember she did another interview where she said that the Stranger was counterculture. that he represented counterculture. Because in her mind, and she feels like he represents her, in her mind, she should be able to remove people that disagree with her politically from the equation. Now think about what political system that she probably would abide by, that would represent, that we've seen in history. Where the people that don't agree with the other people get murdered. What system allowed that to happen, right? So I start to put the pieces together and I think to myself, this is how this person thinks. This person is really that crazy of a person. So her saying that she relates to the stranger is a self-indictment that she doesn't even realize is a self-indictment because, again, I think she has those narcissistic tendencies. So why would she see it as an indictment of herself? Because she's great and perfect and wonderful and everybody loves her. And she was told to make the show The Acolyte about herself by other people. Of course she thinks she's great. It's crazy to me. On a side note, what also is kind of crazy to me is the whole Me Too movement and everything else. And women this and women that. And Kathleen Kennedy, hired a whole pile of women for Lucasfilm and everything. And the executives, blah, blah, blah. And, women are oppressed in Hollywood. And then she hires Leslye Headland, who is literally Harvey Weinstein's assistant. Does any of this make sense? Do any of these people make any sense with the actions that they take based on what they say their motives are? It doesn't make any sense. None of this makes sense. Allowing her to make this show makes no sense. So when I was rewriting the scene with him all the way up to shooting, I was on the treadmill being like, what is he going to say? And my wife, who's a huge part of my creative process, finally she said, what do you want to say? Stop thinking of it like you have to somehow tap into a different guy. So she really is the stranger. She really thinks that's who she is. She's waiting for the day when she can just kill everybody that doesn't agree with her. I guess. How else are you relating to this guy, man? He's just a nutcase. She's trying to, she tried to make him sympathetic if you've seen the show. She tried to, when he's not in the mask and fighting, his voice is toned down and he's sultry and, good looking and muscly and just this. But ultimately, he's nuts. He's nuts. He goes around killing people. He killed Jackie. Jackie was a teenager. He's a murderer. He's a mental case. But somehow she tried to, and it didn't work. Nobody believes that he's, not a mental case. But now she's saying that's who she is? What is happening? What is going on? Headland reiterated, and again, Manny was giving this incredible performance all through this, so I'm like, how do I live up to this performance? And my wife is like, what do you want to say? How do I live up to this performance? Wait. Oh, okay, so literally, they had already shot a whole bunch of stuff, and she hadn't even written the line yet. She hadn't settled on the line. Remember, guys, this show took 4 years to make. And while they're shooting, she's still trying to figure out what the lines are. Now, that's not totally abnormal. Lines do change as you shoot scenes and stuff. That does happen. I'm not saying that that's some crazy thing at all. But 4 years? Hey, that's not really a good thing there. I don't know. That's doesn't give you a lot of confidence. She then revealed what she wanted to say. I was like, I want to say that people don't want me to exist as a gay woman. As a woman in this particular space, working in this wild sandbox. I don't think anyone cares if you're gay. Does anyone care that Leslye Headland is gay, right? Let me know in the comment section. I could give a single solitary poo chunk about your gayness. It means nothing to me. I don't care who you sleep with. In fact, I'm sick of hearing about it, to be perfectly honest. I am at the point now, I am so sick and tired of hearing about who everybody's sleeping with. I don't care. Stop talking about it. It's so boring and mundane. And they're still trying to push it like it's like this new interesting thing. Like, oh, I'm a gay woman, so, maybe people don't like me. No, no one cares. No one gives a crap. Let me know in the comment section. Do you care? I don't think anyone does. Stop talking about it. There was a whole crew of people who believed in me, but deep down I felt like I'm unaccepted. Whoa, 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 whoa. Wait. I want to say that people don't want me to exist as a gay woman. There was a whole crew of people who believed in me. So you have a serious mental problem, Leslye. You do this every time you're interviewed. You talk. Literally in the same sentence, you're contradicting yourself. Or in two sentences. People don't want me to exist as a gay woman. Who is that, your sister and your dad? Okay. Maybe that's true. Maybe your sister and your dad think being a lesbian is morally wrong. But you still say, there's a whole crew of people who believed in me, but deep down I felt like I'm unaccepted for who I am because of what I believe in and wanting to wield my power the way I'd like without having to answer to a legion of people that just exist out there. So it's not just about your dad. You think there's a legion of people that care that you're gay. No one cares. Maybe they do. Like, maybe like people like directly in contact with you have had negative feelings towards it. And you know what? Okay, fine. You know, that is what it is. I'm not saying that wouldn't have a negative effect on you. I don't know. But you're not saying that. You're saying there's a legion of people. I am accepted for who I am because of what I believe in and wanting to wield my power the way I'd like without having to answer to a legion of people. Well, here's the problem. So you did wield your power the way that you wanted to. You made this show about you and you did exactly what you wanted to do. And it's a show that requires an audience, and your audience exists out there. They are a legion of Star Wars fans, and you are answering to them. You are answering to them. That's your job. That's why you don't write a show about yourself. You honor the IP and make a show that's good that has to do with Star Wars, not Leslye Headland's personal issues with a Star Wars skin. Because we now know that the viewership has plummeted from the first episode to the last episode over 90%. Because there are a legion of people, when you make a show, when you wield your power and you make a show, you have to answer to. I guess at this point, the shareholders don't care anymore. They're just letting her do whatever she wants. Write a show about yourself, Leslye. Kathy, write a show about yourself, Leslye. The shareholders just don't care anymore. They are so hell-bent on pushing this social agenda. And I remember in my last video I'd forgotten, there was the Disney insider, the VP guy, who said that they think they're changing the world. They're going to change society and how society thinks about stuff. Well, Leslye Headland did a show about herself and did not do a Star Wars show, and the society answered. And I said in that video, why would you take on that task? Why wouldn't you just make a Star Wars show? Why are you, as executives of Disney, taking on the task of trying to transform society? You're not going to do it. You're an entertainment company first and foremost anyway. But if that's your goal, what a stupid idea. You have a license to print money. Just go print your money. But no, we want to change society. It's not going to work. It's backfiring. You should not have taken on that challenge. Whether it's right or wrong, everybody has their perspectives on all these issues, these social issues. I'm not saying whether or not they're right or wrong or anything. I'm simply saying, why would you take on that task? And society is answering. Because Star Wars is going down the toilet, and the Acolyte it's a giant sucking sound. It's a flush. No one is happy about this show. Nobody. Everyone's angry. There's a small group of shills that are always going to be there, and they could do anything. They could have a literal turd with a lightsaber. They can have a rock, a literal boulder that is the navigator of a ship, and they'll just eat it up. They'll eat that slop till the cows come home. But the majority of people now are telling you that what you're doing is stupid and you need to stop. And you're not listening. Because you're not going to change the world. No one's worshiping Disney. Right? Just make your movies, make your shows, make your animated shows, make your money, and focus on that. Don't focus on, I want Leslye Headland to do a show about Leslye Headland's personal life. Which, again, she's completely contradicting herself in these two sentences anyway, because a lot of people do accept her. A crew of people believed in me. I'm unaccepted because... So, essentially, she's almost kind of alluding to the idea that if we don't like the Acolyte, it's because she's gay, I think. I think that's kind of what she's saying without saying here. Answer to a legion of people that just exist out there. No one cares that you're gay. The reason my kids aren't watching your show is because you kind of sexualized it. I don't need my daughter and I don't need my sons having a scene with a naked guy and she's looking at his crotch and stuff. I don't want them to see that. It's dumb. It's dumb. And I don't like the moral relativism of the show that you're trying to push onto my kids, that like there's the bad guy isn't really bad when he is bad. and you're trying to push that. You didn't do a very good job of it. I don't think many people are falling for it, but that's why my kids aren't watching your show, Leslye. I don't like it. I don't like what you're trying to push. It's not Star Wars. It's something else. It's some weird, your own personal weird views, which you are perfectly entitled to have, and I'm perfectly entitled to not have my kids watch your show. Anyway, so there you go. So she's kind of nuts, and she's to relate to the Sith Lord murdering everybody. Like, oh, that's what you want to do. You want to wield your power and remove all these people from the equation that don't agree with you, because you think you should just be the god of whatever people believe in, I guess. Like, it's... Oh, interestingly, Dallas Saunier, the producer of Bone Tomahawk and a former colleague of Headland's, did indeed call her out and claimed Headland would be the first in line to dunk on the Acolyte due to its embrace of woke ideology, and claimed Headland would have been first in line to dunk on the Acolyte. Headland would be the first... So he's saying if Headland hadn't have made the Acolyte, she'd be dunking on it due to its woke ideology? Well, it's an interesting thing, right? It's like, when you get the power, as she puts it, to do what you want, then all of a sudden you decide to go that route. Sonia wrote on Instagram, "The Acolyte makes me sad on so many levels. Star Wars is awesome, was awesome. I discovered Leslye in a 15-seat theater on Santa Monica Boulevard back in 2007. And like Greta Gerwig, I locked arms with this woman and forced Hollywood to pay attention to her. Leslye was so frickin' based back then. She would have SHIT'd all over the Acolyte for its stupid gender motives and dumb physics like fire in outer space." Oh, this is good stuff, guys. And she should. So that's interesting, because she kind of alludes to the fact that her relationship with her sister and her dad kind of have pushed her into feeling the way she's feeling. And society, right? Society, the legion of people, have pushed her into being bitter or whatever, or angry, or identifying with the Sith Lord. But he's saying that's not what did it, isn't he? She's just bought into the woke ideology, is what he's saying. She was nothing like that in her 20s. There you go. So Leslye Headland's just essentially full of crap. Is what she is. She's just making things up. Sonia then stated, last saw her in 2017, and she was still her old self, but her reboot of Heathers, co-starring an even younger Brett Cooper, soon got cancelled, very publicly for all the wrong, dumb reasons, and it really shook her spirits. I saw her lean into modern victim mentality more with Russian Doll on Netflix, and really no turning back from there. No, here's my take on that. Heathers got canceled, and then she said, I'll play the game. I'll do what you want. The studios are trying to change the world, right? That's what the Disney VP said. They're trying to change the world, how we think about all these issues, these social issues, using their massive media platforms. And I think what she said was her show got canceled, and then she said, I'll do what you want. I'll do the woke ideology stuff. That's what I think happened. Wow. This is incredible. He then speculates she got woke in order to be accepted by Hollywood. Okay, so what I'm just saying. Hey, look, we all get older. We all got to pay the bills. And the world cracked. I get it. But it is just sad to see someone I managed for over 8 years and cared so much about become the very thing she and I would mock mercilessly for a decade. Wow. So this isn't even about Leslye Headland, man. This speaks to the whole arrangement in Hollywood now, where you ain't getting work if you ain't trying to change the world into this whatever perspective. Holy smokes. Oh, well, wow. Okay, so that was on whatever, Instagram or something. Holy moly. Nevertheless, Headland projected herself and her ideas onto everyone else. But by the way, I think everybody feels this way. I think that's why it resonates when you're honest about yourself and you get personal about it. When he says, I want freedom, that's what I want. I just want freedom. I want to be able to just be out there and be myself and be the type of artist I want to be without having to answer to anybody. That's why I feel so close to him. He's a murderer. He's not just trying to be free. He's trying to kill everybody that doesn't agree with him. What are you talking about? He doesn't want anyone else to be free. He just wants to be free. He wants everybody else to be dead. Like, Leslye Headland's weird, man. She continued, I also feel like when I get in when I get into leadership positions, I do get very vulnerable. I'm not afraid to cry. You know what I mean? There's this feeling for female directors that they don't cry or they can't cry. I was like, I'm going to cry because this is my dream. I can't believe we're making this. I am truly so impressed by everyone who's put their faith in me. That is why he represents the Avatar. Think about what she's saying. She's not saying, I'm truly blessed that people put their faith in me. I'm truly impressed. Now that is about the most self-absorbed perspective you could possibly have. You impress me because you put your faith in me. Oh, I think I just threw up in my mouth a little bit. Ugh. Gross. Imagine you said that to your friend. So imagine the people that made the show, the workers on the sets and all the craftspeople reading this. That's how she really felt about them. That they were these peons that impressed her because they put their faith in her. Ugh. That is why he represents the Avatar. Yeah, I guess there you go. So she identifies with him because he's trying to seduce Osha into being his underling. And that's how she views people. That she's supposed to try and suck them in to doing what she wants. And that's what impresses her. That's Narcissism 101, folks. Lovett then interjected, I think that's what makes villains so compelling because there is that little piece of every writer in the villains, kind of pushing an idea that they have harbored within them. The villain is a great proxy for getting those feelings out. Oh, Headland replied, absolutely. I very rarely put myself into the protagonist because I think the protagonist has to be the... Oh yeah, we talked about this yesterday. Nice verbiage. I think the protagonist has to be the protagonist. They might have a sprinkling of me, certainly Osha and May, the family conflict, the switching of sides, being really certain that you know one thing, the betrayal of the father. The father didn't betray them. She turned into a fart and had fangs and was like a demon, and then May started disappearing, and so he stuck his lightsaber into the fart, and somehow that killed her, which makes no sense, but he didn't betray them at all. At all. He did nothing wrong. Soul was a saint in this show. The rejection of the fraternal protectionism and saying, I am my own person, that stuff I definitely relate with, but the stranger is my shadow self for sure. Yeah, we kind of went over that in the last video, and the whole, like, you know, you have to rebel against your father and not agree with anything he says, and that's just like what you're supposed to do in life. Because she did it, so she thinks that's what everyone else is supposed to do, or that everyone else is going to relate to that. No, that's just what you did. It doesn't mean everybody relates to that. For those who did not watch the show, what Headland is referring to is what Khmer tells Master Soul in the show's 5th episode when Soul asks him what he wants. Khmer responds, freedom, the freedom to wield my power the way I like it, without having to answer to Jedi like you. I want a pupil and Acolyte, but this one went back on our deal. She exposed me, so now I have to kill every single last one of you. I don't make the rules. The Jedi do, and the Jedi say I can't exist. They see my face, they all die. Freedom to wield my power the way I like, without having to answer to Jedi like you. I already said earlier, go eat an Eskimo pie on another planet, bro. No one cares. The only way the Jedi are going to intervene if you're doing bad is if you're doing bad things like murdering people. So what are you talking about? I want a pupil, an Acolyte. But this one went back. See, like, like, his motivations don't make any sense, right? His motivations are just, I want to murder people, obviously. Because, again, if he wasn't doing that, no one would care what he was doing. I want a pupil and Acolyte, but this one went back on our deal. She exposed me. How did she expose you? How did she expose you? You were tied up in a sling, and then got out of it, and then floated down with your Sith costume on. She never exposed you at all. What are you talking about? Like, that line, it took her until 5 minutes before shooting to figure it out, and it doesn't make any sense. Based on the show, what happened? He was still Khmer. The last time May had seen him, he was Khmer. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he just showed up as the Sith. So you didn't have to do that, bro. Nobody made you do that. So now I have to kill every single last one of you. No, you just want to. I don't make the rules, the Jedi do, and the Jedi say I can't exist. They see my face, they all die. Well, they saw your face because you came and attacked them, and then got your helmet knocked off. You did that. Is that what you relate to, Leslye? Like, just not having any repercussions for your actions? No accountability? Is that why he's relatable? He shouldn't be accountable, even though he showed up and started swinging his lightsaber? He could have just stayed hidden, but he didn't. He chose not to. So no accountability is really relatable to you? And again, this line doesn't jive with how the show even operated anyway. It's so stupid. Everything about the show is stupid. This moment in the show was one of the few compelling moments that felt true to Star Wars. It's because the idea of freedom she's talking about is in reality slavery to passion, something the Sith do indeed engage in, and it is indeed wrong to do. Yeah, that's a good... So she's relating to the fact that it's slavery to passion. So is that what your whole issue is, Leslye? Oh, it's just so stupid. Author Patrick Deneen notes this idea is found in liberalism. He explains the basic presupposition of liberalism as I understand it and think as the tradition of political philosophy and theology would understand this is that liberalism is ideally about the completely and truly free human being. Freedom in the modern sense, freedom from any kind of obstacle or that which prevents us from achieving what it is we wish, what our will would desire. Well, once again, there have been systems of government in this world that have happened quite recently, particularly in the 20th century, that went that road and people died. Just saying. Deneen then details how this idea contrasts with virtue. Of course, this is in contrast to the classical and the Christian understanding of liberty, as you know well, and that for much of American history, certainly for much of course, Western history, even if that modern view wasn't predominant, there was a kind of practice that came alongside its more ancient understanding, he detailed, and those practices were basically practices we would think of as the practices of virtue. In other words, the capacity to be self-limiting and learning to be self-limiting, which of course is very deeply in the Aristotelian tradition, very deeply in the Christian tradition. He continued, but when your definition of liberty becomes the freedom from or the freedom to do as one wishes, then those older practices and even institutions that taught us a kind of self-limitation, those now have to be either eliminated or changed or redefined. So that's essentially her ideology. I guess that's why she believes in Khmer and, you know, tried to write the Jedi as bad, even though she failed at that. The only Jedi that was bad was Vernestra. Soul didn't do anything wrong. The rest of them were fine. This idea of freedom that is contrary to virtue is perfect for a villain, and it's not the first time we've ever seen it. However, given Headland sees Khmer as an avatar for herself, she tries to twist this objectively evil ideology to make it somehow good or at least morally great. Exactly. And no one likes that. It's Star Wars. It's not your life, Leslye, or your brain. We want Star Wars, not you. She explained how she attempted to do this later in the interview, but here's the thing, on an emotional level for the audience, now having watched episode 7, you've got the light side and the dark side, Jedi and Sith, but who are you rooting for? Am I finding myself now rooting for the stranger, who I feel incredibly drawn to, who's made himself literally exposed, and Soul, who has been hiding this thing? So that sort of emotional impact of like, I hate what Soul did, but this guy is the bad guy. He's got the red lightsaber. What am I supposed to do? No, I don't know anybody that thought that. Nobody thought that, Leslye. You failed. Your mission to make the bad guy seem good failed. No one believes that. No one thinks Soul did anything wrong. Everyone thinks Soul was doing what was right by Osha and the girls, and he tried his best. He protected them. He did anything a good father would do. No one is believing this, Leslye. And you must have a weird perspective of good and bad when you think people would actually buy into that. Like, who would think that a guy being a good fatherly figure to somebody would be a bad thing? Only somebody like you who's clearly has something going on that doesn't make any sense. Headland continued, with the girls it's similar. Who am I rooting for? I'm kind of rooting for Osha because I want her to restore her strength in the Force and tap into her negative feelings. No, nobody thought that. But I'm also rooting for May because she was framed by everybody. No, she really wasn't framed by anybody. She literally murdered tons of people. And she did start a fire after she threatened to kill her own sister. No one has sympathy for your villains, Leslye. No one. They're villains, and they were written as villains. You're the only person on Earth that has any sympathy for them. And Osha's a complete idiot now, because she just turned on and died. Anyway, I went over that. It doesn't make any sense. She was on a quest to find justice in her own way, knowing that the institution would never hold these people accountable. Accountable for what? Accountable for what? You were there, May. You saw your mom turn into the demon fart lady. You saw that you were starting to disappear. Your mom could have just said you can take Osha, but she didn't. She let it escalate. Your other mom weaponized the witches. You saw all that. What are you talking about? You have no justification for killing any Jedi, not even one. None. And when all the witches died, it was because your stupid Darth mom turned into a fart, went into the Wookiee, made him a nutcase. He started trying to kill all the Jedi. And so then Indara comes in and got rid of the spell, having no idea it was going to kill all the witches, but it killed all the witches, which was their own fault because they were putting a spell on the Wookiee in the first place. No one believes these are good people, Leslye. They're bad people. No one rooted for May. No one felt May was justified. Nobody who watched this show felt May was justified. This is an awful show in every possible respect. Even what you were trying to accomplish, you did the opposite. For the viewer. You did literally the opposite. And then you're saying, oh, I don't want to have to deal with the legions. Well, then don't make a Star Wars show. Don't make media at all then. If you don't want people answering. It reminds me of Harry and Meghan Markle and how South Park just destroyed them with their episode because they're doing a media tour promoting their book and then telling everybody to leave them alone. Well, which is it? Do you want to be left alone or don't you? You're literally putting yourself out there seeking attention and then you don't want people to respond. Leslye Headland's putting her show out there and then doesn't want the legion of... What did she say? Yeah, she doesn't want to have to answer to the legion of people that just exist out there. They're just people who just exist out there. I don't want to have to listen to them. Well, then don't do shows, idiot. What are you, dumb? And then this other one where she's like, I'm impressed. I'm impressed by people putting their faith in me. She literally thinks human beings are pieces of garbage, man. That's what I'm getting from this. That she's hovering above us all, you know, in her, you know, deity, and we're all just pieces of crap. We're just dumb legions of people that shouldn't have an opinion. Should just shut up and soak in her garbage and say how great it is. And accept that she made a Star Wars show about herself and that we're just a bunch of peons, we're just a bunch of idiots, and we should just slop it up and eat it up and chew on it and swallow it and soak it up. What a nut bar. Honestly, guys, I can't believe this show was made. I can't believe Leslye Headland made it. I've been over all the points. I don't need to say it again. Mind-boggling. I think I'm going to take a break from dealing with Leslye Headland. I think my next video is going to be about Joker 2. I've had enough of Star Wars for a little while. Obviously, if news comes out, I am going to cover it. But I think the Leslye Headland stuff, this is it now. This is very telling. This exposed her completely. Each article I've read exposed her more. This was the final one. I think she views people as garbage, as useful tools for her agenda and what she wants. I think she's not a very nice person. If I'm her sister, again, without getting into, like, I don't really know what went on, but I do think, based on the way she talks, I mean, can I even blame her sister for not wanting a relationship with her? I would, if this was my sister, and my sister viewed me as a means to an end like everybody else too, I don't really want a relationship with her either. Thank God I come from a good family with nice people, and my sister's actually really awesome. Anyways, guys, let me know in the comment section what you think. Again, my mind is blown yet again every day with this person. If you do like this content, please like and subscribe. It always helps the channel. And feel free to check out anything else on my channel, including the other interviews she's done. And it's just, this is nuts. I can't believe this show was even made. This is nuts. I think this might be the end. I think this might have killed Star Wars, like, legit. Killed it. I think this might have been the one that finally did it in. Anyways, guys, have yourselves a really good day.